When else does the noise in my head bother you? And at a retreat, some of the things we first experience is how noisy it is in here. And we start learning how to turn the volume down and how to pay attention and how to focus, just pay attention. And it's a process, and it's an ongoing process.
And Ignatius apparently was a master at that. How did he balance the spiritual insights and passion and with a life of service and all the chaos that comes with it?
He is a very selfish, self-obsessed young man, full of arrogance and pride and lots of bad behaviors. And he was not a promising figure, but he was a soldier and he was wounded. And in the course of recovering from his wounds, which was a long period, he had a spiritual awakening. It was gradual, but he woke up to discover a thirst and a yearning for a God experience. And he has a lot of ideas. He's a bright guy. And he tries a million things, and he makes 10,000 mistakes. And out of all of that trial and error, he puts together a way of proceeding. And it's very, very rich because he made so many mistakes and he paid attention to them.
What are some of the distinctive dimension of that way of proceeding that is can be applicable to us today?
Well, again, distraction is a big thing for a lot of us, how we get distracted. And at one part of his life, Ignatius, he was not an educated person, and he had to go to school, which meant he had to learn Latin. So he learned Latin, and he goes to Paris, which was a big intellectual center, to learn theology. And you crack the books, and you didn't have libraries like we did, but classes started at 5 a.m. and there were all of these memorization things, and the teacher had one book and read from it for his students, and they took notes. And he found that at nighttime, about 10 p.m., he would have a big desire to pray all night. Isn't that a good thing? But it meant he didn't sleep, and it meant he showed up for class the next day trashed. And he realized that if you're in full-time studies, your job is to be cracking the books. And if at 10 a.m. you want to do yoga for 7 hours or meditate on the gospel, it's not a good idea. Put down the book and go to bed. He was very practical. When you show up for class, you show up rested and prepared, or you're wasting your education. Practical stuff like that, And he, food, eating this and not eating that. He thought he'd fast because holy people fast. So he just stopped eating. And then he started having these visions of green snakes. And he said, well, how holy I am. But he wasn't holy. He was starving himself to death, and he was hallucinating. And he had to discover that too. So the 10,000 mistakes. And you find, and you need a lot of experience for this, what helps me in my ministry, in my life, and what doesn't help me. And I want to do the one and avoid the other. It's the pragmatism of Ignatius, which is also very pragmatic with women and men in recovery, the practicality of it,
So in practical terms, what can we learn from the recovery community? Are the 12 steps useful for people who are not in recovery?
Well, the 12 steps are very practical. A lot of us in recovery find out if we don't do them, we're just so miserable. I mean, we stop drinking, but nothing else changes. And the 12 steps help us grow up and mature, and we stop blaming everybody for all of our problems. And you start taking responsibility. You tell the truth. You do an inventory, you make amends, you clean up your mess. You are to be a part of the community. And you understand the radical equality of people. I mean, I'm not better than you, I'm not worse than you. We are so much on the same level, and we're going to focus on those things. The 12 steps help people build bridges rather than walls. And it's so reading is part of it, writing is part of it, prayer, meditation is part of it, talking to other people, and learning how to listen to other people is another great big part of recovery, because a lot of us never listen.
Oh, those sounds very similar to Ignatian spirituality.
Yeah.
There's an outward thrust to ministry and service, right?
That's right. Out of gratitude. And that's again that Ignatius vibration. It's out of gratitude you do this. I have been given ever so much. One of the early AA people, Dr. Bob Smith, said, I owe a debt of gratitude to the man who spoke to me, which means I need to speak to other people. I need to be there for other people. It's not a solitary program. It's very much a we program.
So what can we do as Christians to accompany and assist and help the recovery community or any group that do not have a public voice?
Well,
How can we be in support?
well, a retreat house like El Retiro is a safe place for people to come. And for a lot of people, any connection with organized religion or organized church stuff is very anxiety producing. Because what a lot of religious groups and church groups have done is they've yelled at people, they've preached to people, they've manipulated people, they've really told them how bad they were. And so there's a lot of shame and self-loathing and resistance, and to come to a place where it's quiet and peaceful and you're treated with respect and courtesy and given a good meal and a community of similar people who are seekers, who are seeking God's will and asking for the power to carry that out. It's a very healing experience for people. And so the El Retiro for years has been a place where not just Catholic folks and not just Christian folks, a lot of people have come there to find it a very safe place to encounter the things you need to encounter.
Wow, what great insights. And so finally, let me ask, our audience wants to know how they can serve JRC.
Well, at its most cynical, and I have been accused of cynicism on more than one occasion, retreat houses, they're like hotels and restaurants, right? You feed people and they sleep there. But it's ever so much larger than that, because that is a place to encounter a power greater than yourself and a community. Food is important, and a decent bed is important too, and heat, all those things. But the retreat house, how to support it? So many retreat houses are in crisis because no one pays their bills. Who can pay their bills? Even in prosperous times, retreat houses are on the edge of just disappearing. So any kind of attention, financial goodness, good words to support the place makes a huge difference. Going there ourselves as we open up, being able to bring people to it. The old system, and this by old I mean I'm 73, so this is when I was a boy. People brought people to the retreat house. You'd go with your 6 friends, or you'd AA groups, a whole meeting would show up for the retreat house. It wasn't just the individual person. So inviting other people, bringing other people, financial contribution really helps pay the bills. And there is, I want vague and spiritual things. There's nothing wrong with paying the bills. It's something grown-ups do. So that's a big thing as we do this giving experience, the reaching out for recovery and for people to come into recovery. To support safe places like El Retiro are really, really important. And what Ignatius does, and the Ignatian stuff is an ongoing thing, like the 12 steps, an ongoing thing. It's how to listen and how to pay attention and how to understand. I was told by an old Jesuit, this is in Scandinavia years ago, I was very confused. And I said, how do you know really what God's will is? And his conviction, this was an old guy, that it was planted way, way down here. And it takes a while to learn how to pay attention to way, way down here. And the retreat experience connects us into that. It help and the 12 steps: be honest, tell the truth, be of service, make that connection, be who you are, and see where you are needed and where you can make a difference. So that's something, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kim?
Yes, thank you, Father Tom and Father Chi. Your insights are truly inspiring. Since Father Tom has encouraged us to support the retreat center, we'll now take a look and see how we're doing on our donations so far.
Oh, a couple of more, hooray.
Yay, wonderful. Thank you to Arch, Susan, Catherine and Charlie Selvage. Very wonderful, very appreciated. Thank you. And I want to remind you again that you can make your donation by going to this GoFundMe page. Again, the link is in the chat. And then there's also our mailing address if the check is easier for you to donate. Our address is 300 Manresa Way, Los Altos, California, 94002. Thanks again to those donating. Now let's hear from a young man who had his life changed by a JRC retreat. Robert Juarez is part of Homeboys Industries.
Hello, my name is Robert Juarez. I'm a director at Homeboy Industries. I work with Workforce. I've been with Homeboys for 13 years, going on 14 years. You know, the way I'm connected to the JRC is, you know, I've done several retreats. First, as a trainee, you know, my first experience, you know, it was an amazing experience. You know, I was challenged to go in deeper and get to know myself a little bit more, with along with other brothers. You know, uh, we were able to probe into ourselves and really, you know, go deep and find out things that we probably wouldn't find out in that setting. The natural resources there, you know, it's a beautiful place to be in, and you know, the camaraderie with the other fellas and the homies, it just brings out everything inside that you've been holding on to. It's able to come out in that setting, you know, and you're able to build trust, and you're able to hear other trainees and share their stories, and it motivates you to open up and go deeper, you know. And you know, it's been amazing, you know, year after year. Just very grateful for JRC because, you know, these retreats, they do something special to everyone that goes. You know, all the homies, they get to experience something special. You know, they get to sit on the hot seat and they get to hear all the beautiful stuff that we see in each other. You know, and it's very hard in the beginning, but you know, once it's over, you're very grateful. And those sheets that the trainees write on, that we write, we keep them. So throughout the years, we're able to go back to them and see all the beautiful stuff that was written. And you know, that really helps me to keep going in life.
Wonderful. This brings us to the end of our evening. We hope you've enjoyed it. I do want to thank everyone who made this online event possible. Father Tom and Father Chi, our wonderful Giving Tuesday committee, Catherine Selvage, Elizabeth Hanley, Andrea Crawford, Indigo Austin, along with our staff, Diane Hendricks and Pooja Jain. I want to thank our board of directors as well, and all of you who donated tonight. And I also want to thank all of you for participating tonight. Thank you for your time. Remember, you will see stories and reflections posted every day on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram from retreatants that have been at JRC, and all these will be posted through Giving Tuesday on December 1st. Please also watch for our weekly email announcements. During this time, our campaign will be open. Please show your support and your love for the JRC with a donation. We are going to close by taking one last look at our fundraising page. Thank you to John Shaw. Wonderful. Again, thank you for joining us. We will leave this open for about 15 minutes to give you an opportunity to make your donation to JRC, where retreats change lives. Good evening and God bless.